Hey everybody, welcome back. I am sorry I wasn't able to do one of these last night. As you know, I do one every Monday through Thursday, and then Saturday is the big one. We just absolutely slammed last night with conference calls and then meetings. But let's get into it here. So I just want to go through the basics. We're climbing a wall of worry, and everybody has the same worry. Oh, we're definitely going to roll over. This is Friday, and then we start going through it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Oh, that's definitely it, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you are climbing a wall of worry. If you start looking at the cash market, it's absolutely crazy. We keep hitting higher highs, and we keep watching people talk about this. Oh, we're definitely going to roll over. Now, the flim flam on Microsoft from yesterday was of epic proportion. And that was something that I have not seen in years, where a reporter actually got something so wrong that the company actually lambasts them. And that's exactly what happened with Microsoft, to the point that the information actually changed the title of their article. It was so bad. We can put it in the tinfoil hat and get into why they did that, but it doesn't really matter. Once that was figured out, that's why we bounced yesterday. The important thing about that is when we get into the Qs, you take a look at this. But what does this mean for us looking at the day? I think you got to get through OpEx tomorrow, but there's a couple of really simple things here that I think are just absolutely glaring, as somebody likes to say. So let's do it. Number one, or uno, as they say in French, you can see move right here, the bond market option volatility estimate index. It is making that lower low, and we talked about the fact that you needed to make that lower low after the higher high. A lot of people don't watch this. If you take one thing from this video, you definitely want to watch this. The high here, when we had all that liberation and winning, that high marked the low of the S&P. You can go look at all these highs, and it will mark when the S&P bottomed. You don't know that that's a bottom until it rolls over, and that doesn't mean that it's going to definitely work, but it's certainly a way to look at doing a much longer term trade. For example, if I looked at the Qs during the same period of time, let's clean off all my nonsense for a second, and I'll show you what I mean by this. So if I looked at like the Qs, and we'll drop this here, and then you looked at something like move for a second, and then we go, oh, all right, well, that's that Thursday 20th, and then you would go there and go Friday and go Thursday. Okay, well, just because that's Thursday doesn't mean that you're just automatically not going to undercut it, right? But as that starts dropping down, it starts taking into account. Same thing here. If you start seeing this when that is the Friday, October 10th, and we get to Friday, October 10th, we put that bottom in, you gap up, using that low as a stop for a trade. Not the worst idea. If you take a look at September 4th here, and we start getting through September 4th, here's the second. Pretty interesting that once again, this whole pattern right here in the Qs, which someone would call, the whole abandoned baby pattern right in here, that's perfect, right? And that marks same area here. So there's definitely something to it. People say, why wouldn't you use the VIX? Because you care more about what the bond market's doing, candidly, especially if it's a real macro event. They don't buy the VIX to hedge their bonds. Now, if you do look at the VIX, the one thing I've been telling people and yammering on about is you need to undercut here too, and you need to see a 15 handle. You have it. So we have what we need. It's just whether or not it's up to us to believe it at this point. Most people are going to look at this and say, we're going to roll over, and then it's going to be too late. It's the same people, just FYI, I've seen this a million times since I've been trading for 27 freaking years. But I'll give you a great example of it. It's the same people that from when they were bearish here and never got back in, they're still bearish. They're talking about all kinds of crazy stuff, right? And, oh, it's this, it's that. It doesn't matter. This is what you have. This is what you're dealing with. Deal with what's in front of you. And right now, technically, they're saying that we're looking better. Now, if you start to roll over, you have those two things that you could focus on. Now, if we watch this, we would see that stocks above the 5-day moving average are back over 55. We really only want to be back over 50, but we are clearly closing back over 55. And that's exactly what we're looking for. 50 is always the number, that 50% line, NDFI. If we take a look at this, what is this telling us? Well, this is telling us that we are now 55% over the NASDAQ 100 of the 50-day. And that is also meaning that with the breadth of the market is actually getting better on the NDFI or on the NDX. Now, as we continue to run through a couple things here, we have the S5FD, which is stocks above the 5-day moving average. We said when we get to this 90, we tend to pull back. You tend to have a major pullback at any time that you're in this blue little area. There's the symbol on TradingView. This is exactly what it is. It's not some super secret thing that I created, and you're staring at it. Look at it. Now from here, you can see how we dropped down, and now you're at that 30% line, getting a little washed out, and now you're bouncing again back to 50% or the average, right? We talked about this at length because we mentioned that, hey, everyone's all excited because their stock's above the 5-day, but if 96% of them are above the 5-day, you're not special, right? You want to buy them when they're special. So something to keep in mind. Now, there has been this rumor for a long time that as goes Bitcoin, goes the market. And there's also been this rumor that, oh, Bitcoin will never ever break what it costs to mine a Bitcoin. That's delusion, and all you have to do is point at this on a chart to them and then tell them to explain that, but they tend to not be able to. So, no, I don't believe any of that stuff. What I tend to believe is the same thing that's been working since this thing's actually had a chart. It's the same exact pattern. Anytime you start seeing these negative divergences, they mark peaks. It's over and over again. Like you literally can't miss them. Like they just start selling down. It's usually in threes, 1, 2, 3. You can't miss it. 1, 2, 3. Like they're all over the place. And it's pretty, it's not that hard. 1, 2, 3, and then it marks it, right? You'll see it in here too. So when you're starting to see this stuff, again, you really can't miss it. And the further the fall, the further you usually are from grace. But why do you care about this? Well, it tends to usually reset after you cut to this level. And it's usually the same level. And we're going somewhere with this, so stay with me. So when we get down to like this 14, 15 level, you will see historically when you get down there, like if you really want it, like you're like, oh, Bitcoin forever, yay. Like when you get down to that level, all the hoople heads usually puke it out. So it's over. I got to go back to McDonald's. So when you start to see that stuff, yep, that's where it is. And so where I'm going with this and what's really important about this that you have to really wrap your noodle around is when it happens, no matter where the price is, that's where the price is. Get it? Got it? Good. So when you see this, that's telling you that you're most likely putting in a bottom, not going to fall down lower. It doesn't mean you can't come back down and retest that area, but it usually means that the majority of pain that you've gone through is there. The majority, not all the pain, it can still drop lower, but the majority of pain you've gone through. And so this gives us some support in the area. Now, there's a lot of really bad information out there, of course, no other place than Twitter, where people were saying, oh, MicroStrategies, they're going to be forced to sell. MSCI is going to throw them out. Forced to sell. Okay. I guarantee you this was by somebody that was short, that was spreading all this stuff. And we're seeing a lot. Between social media right now, it is so easy to manipulate like AP and algorithms. It's absolutely crazy. But you can see when all this started and how this has been acting, right? Ever since Bitcoin started falling, to the point that this thing was actually trading at a discount to the assets of Bitcoin, because people were saying they're going to have to sell Bitcoin in order to pay the dividends. And then Michael Saylor comes out and says, by the way, we have a year's cash for dividends out there, and I can raise another year at will, at the market, at will. So you have 2 years of dividends at will out there right now, just to kind of put in perspective how crazy this was. Anyway, this was a perfect little pattern right here. We were actually able to buy it and trade it. It was literally perfect. I mean, there it is, hammer time. And you can kind of see where we're going from there. And now you put that bottom in, and now people go, look, the abandoned baby. I knew I should have bought it. It's an abandoned baby pattern if you ever saw one. Anyway, the question now is what happened? Well, what happened is everybody thought the sky was falling once again, right? And that's the same thing they just did to us on Microsoft with the information. And information came out the other day and said, oh, this is really, really bad. Microsoft is cutting their guidance in Office. This is what they hit with at exactly 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock in the morning, this is what they hit people with. And that's exactly what this is. One bar, billions of dollars out. And then you could see it holding that put wall at 475. And then what happens? Microsoft comes out, issues a statement going, everything they said is patently false. Stock trades up. What happens from there? Information quietly changes the cover of their story. And it was picked up by someone else. They didn't do a retraction. They didn't apologize. They just came out with this story that, according to Microsoft, that came out twice this day. Just to be clear, they came out once, and then they found so many issues with the story, they came out again. And that's why it actually rallied again. Leave that where it is. But here you are, right at that put wall. And you can see how you held that 475. And then from there, you rallied up. And now you're just sitting around here floating. But what a great spot for somebody that was trying to get in some of these names. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you take a look at Oracle, I'm just putting the tinfoil hat on for a second, but here you are with Oracle. And what got me about Oracle was right to the put wall, literally right to it at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it stopped. Here's where this gets super interesting. This is something I created, and what it is, it's called Prometheus. And what it will do is it will show outsized buying relative to the market in a context of a period of time, but also by taking into account rate of change in volatility. And I don't have it live for people, and I'm not going to have it live for people, but I use it in the room and I show people in the room. But the reason I'm showing it, and they'll tease me about it, I'm sure, but the reason I'm showing it is when it spiked like this, look when it spiked. Look at all the buying that came in there right when that came out. So I'm not a conspiracy person, but who's coming out with earnings next week? Oracle. Look at exactly what happened when that Microsoft news hit. They couldn't buy it fast enough. It never broke. And it's the same exact level that it's been holding since Monday. And if you go through it, after you hit that 85 put wall down here, they raised the put wall to 200. And all they've been doing is buying that put wall for like a week. It's all they've been doing. And then, oh, time to get some off. Why? What's this day? If you count out from Wednesday on, right? And if you know how to do this, but just here you go. So like, here's earnings, right? So there's that Wednesday. And so this happens on a Wednesday. So that means you have Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 days. So if you ever looked at historically when institutions and traders will position themselves for an earnings call, it's 5 days. Historically, any data set that you will go and look at, they always do T+5. And that's exactly what you're looking at right here. I thought it was absolutely fascinating. The other one that stood out to me was this. This is AVGO. Why this stood out was because guess who else is coming out with earnings? AVGO is coming out with earnings. Now you can see that you don't have anywhere near the outsized move that you had. Like it's not even close, right? And I think that this is really important to get. They went after one name and one name in particular. They went after Oracle. And you can see the follow through today. You went right, the call walls right up here. So very clearly, for whatever reason, they want to be an Oracle. Now, I'm not going to go out there with my conspiracy theory, but you can already hear where I'm going with it. And I think this is super important. There's a couple things else that I think are worth our time. Make sure you watch Saturday's video because it will be absolutely unequivocally packed. But I do want to go through a couple things for you that I thought were super interesting. Number one, URA. You moved today. We had a bunch of guys trading that OKLO today, but you're almost through that 55 again. You really want to watch this coming up to the week. This is exactly what you need. You need some of these like high beta names to start moving. Look at Quantum through the 55. Like you're through. IBM's holding in there. Even this, look at this thing. This RGTI, look at this pig. And look at it. Everyone's all excited about this stuff again. This is exactly what you want to see. Some of that fervor starting to come back in the market, and then we can kind of go from there. I don't care if you like this company or not. It's a pig. I mean, you're making $1 million a quarter. I mean, I'm not going to get excited about this. I'll get excited about IBM if you want to talk about Quantum there, but I'm not going to get excited about that one. So look at this stuff. Look at it. Look at OKLO today. Now you're down probably because they're probably going to do a secondary or something since they don't have revenue, but they're getting back in this stuff. They're starting to buy it again. You're back above the 22 here. Take a look at ASTS. You're back above the 55. Look at Rocket Labs. Right? So some of this stuff, ROBO, I think that was the one, robotics, all-time highs today. Right? So some of these things, you're getting a trend. You might not like the trend that you're seeing in the rotation, but Teradyne's at all-time highs. ISRG, we went over these in the public pre-market today. Like some of these names look absolutely fantastic. And I think that's really important to get. You are seeing rotation. Finally, if you take a look at this with Tesla, you're back above the 55. I just find it really hard to see that we're getting institutional support in Tesla and Apple, and these names are holding. Now, do we have some kind of dumpster fire going on here with Microsoft? Yeah, I'll be very honest. I bought it yesterday at that close when it did that dumpster fire dive. It was one of the reasons why I was not able to even come close to doing a call yesterday. I was just so damn busy. But you can see it down here when it dumped. Watch, see it just at the end of the day. And so all I did here was buy it, and then I just married calls to it because I'm only 2 days out on the calls, or the puts rather. And I also bought more calls that day. I mean, why not? Where are you going to go? 475? You buy the 475s. It cost me $2. I can buy as much stock as I want, and my risk is $2. Like it's absolutely crazy. Risk of $2 on the stop plus the cost, $4 to be a Microsoft for 2 days, 1%. I mean, as soon as I came in, I was already up in the thing. So pretty interesting. And now I'm going to go into OpEx tomorrow with it. So there's a lot of stuff like that going on. And a lot of these moves, you can see it. Look at Meta and that reversal today. I don't know why people thought that this was going to be good. You know, it was funny. The public call was so excited about this. I couldn't get off fast enough to short the darn thing. And I couldn't get enough off in time. But he just spent tens of billions of dollars in the metaverse to make people a giraffe, right? And nobody wants to be a giraffe. And now everyone's like, oh, because all that money's going to come back in the company. No, all that money's going to go into the next boondoggle. Right. And I think that's what people started to realize at the end of this. Like, well, wait a minute. He's just abandoning something he put tens of billions of dollars in, probably $100 billion. I don't know the exact amount of the metaverse to try to make us all giraffes. But like, if you go back to it, he just walked away from it. You don't think he's going to walk away from this if it's not working? And I think that when people started to look at it that way, they kind of went, ugh. Yeah, maybe. By the way, the call wall 650 tomorrow, and you want to watch that. You're going to have some really active names tomorrow. I would watch Tesla tomorrow. It should be pretty active tomorrow. Tesla, definitely, and so will Meta. They'll both be pretty active with the OPEC expiration. That's it.